Welcome to the ID Club. Josh Peterson, Mike Schaefer with you for another National Fun League. First Tuesday of December, a very chilly morning in Omaha, Nebraska. But Mike Schaefer, the sun is finally out again. How are you?
I am enjoying the sun. I now have a south-facing driveway. Life is so much better when you have a south-facing driveway.
So
You're
jealous.
one of those North folks. I've been there. I feel bad for you. It feels like the sun is never shining on you. That's because it isn't. It's never shining on your driveway. It never makes your life easier. And that's just science, unfortunately.
Yeah, I went out and shoveled yesterday. We got a little bit of a dusting, and I decided then to put some of the melt down. And now, honestly, our driveway looks like it didn't snow at all over the last week. That's the only driveway on the block, especially on this side. That it looks.
Look at that.
Yeah, so look at me, not a homeowner, but a renter who's doing what I'm supposed to do because I don't want it to look like garbage outside. So hopefully other people are doing the same. Banks is very much annoyed. He has not gone on a walk since Saturday. He is ready to go for a walk. I hope that I can deliver him one later today. That's going to be
we're all rooting for Banks. We know what
Banks.
It's like to be cooped up, to have things taken from you, to be told no.
Yes.
And he's ready to go. So I, on behalf of everyone that is listening, agree. Get Banks out for a walk.
Shout out to Banks. Let's see. Already Matt in the chat writing, bear down. I realize, Schaef, as we get going, I have one of my old Chicago Marathon coffee mugs today that I am enjoying from the Bears. Wow. So this is the first time we've done one of these, a National Fun League, in a couple of weeks. We did, of course, the crossover with McMaster. You two yelled at each other for the first 5 minutes last week, the episode that came out on Thanksgiving. And now
it's good that he didn't have the worst day of his life, by the way. There was a brief moment where that could have been true, but then the Bears literally ran through the Eagles, and they didn't have to worry about that.
And now they are the number 1 seed in the National Football Conference. Can you believe it? The Bears of Chicago, because the Rams go down. Look, Schaef, I've been saying it all year. You can't go into Carolina expecting a victory. That's a cauldron of a fan base. It's a great football team. Bryce Young does not look like a child when he wears a backpack. And now that team still somehow actually out of the playoff race because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to get it done against the Cardinals. But the season the season being weird is not beating the allegations once again with what we saw all the way starting on Thanksgiving and all the way, well, maybe not so much last night, but at least through Sunday afternoon, another really crazy weekend of NFL.
The Sunday night game was phenomenal.
Oh my gosh. Incredible.
Just a ton of false finishes, and this thing's over. Nope, not done yet. We're going to replay this play, and that's not a touchdown, and that's a penalty, and that's not an interception. And just all the way down to the very last play, which is pretty great considering it featured what I expected to be a non-competitive Washington team and a Denver team that I've been trumpeting as the best in the AFC. And I might have to reevaluate that. Will I? Who knows? But that was an exciting game. Yeah, last night, nothing special.
Not so much.
Unless, of course, you're in a 33 pool and the Patriots do absolutely nothing in the second half and then award you with a win. So by doing the opposite of what the Cowboys did, who didn't kick a field goal when they were inside a 4th and goal against the Raiders, allowing for someone else to win in a 33 pool. So a lot of 33 shenanigans going on this year.
A lot of 33 shenanigans going on. You mentioned the Broncos, and I don't know. I have a bunch of different thoughts for today's episode that we could bounce around. But I was putting together, John Bishop and I, on a Sportsmanlike Conduct basically every 4 weeks. We do a power ranking. We do a top 5 and a bottom 5. And so I was putting mine together for him this morning. And I think, like a week ago, I think it would have been easy, of course, to put the Rams number 1. They probably still are the best team in the NFL, but I am very much a believer in rewarding or downgrading recent success or failure. So I did not have them at number 1. I have the Patriots at number 1, but the Broncos were yet again another week where I'm just like, I don't know what to do with them. Because they are winning games, and they are winning games with defense, and they are winning games with Bo Nix playing some real terrible football at times. But like the Schaef, they have like a long winning streak now too, right? This is as do the Patriots, and so I don't know. I still can't figure out with the AFC if I am giving up on my priors right now or if I'm going to hold on to that stock. Like, for example, the Colts. I feel like I wasn't wrong. I was just early about them. They are turning into a pumpkin before our very eyes. Will the Broncos, will the Patriots, will either of those teams turn into a pumpkin? I'm starting to doubt my Patriots vibes, but I certainly am not doubting my Broncos vibes. No offense to the Broncos fans in the chat.
Yeah, I think the Broncos are for real. I think they're a threat in the AFC. They're a team that I don't know that you want to play. It was interesting on Sunday. I thought the offense was fine. The issue that they had, suddenly their defense wasn't getting, the kind of stops or the pressure. Marcus Mariota has more time to throw. He had a nice game on Sunday night after that early interception. So they certainly, they didn't play how you would expect because the offense wasn't really an issue. It was more defensively. They just didn't get the kind of stops that you come to expect from them. So I think the Broncos are still to me the class of the AFC. I would put them over the Patriots. I think if they played head to head, I'd feel good about Denver winning that matchup. Maybe it would be a home site thing where if it was in Foxborough, I wouldn't think the same, but I really just don't have any reason to believe that. And then as far as the Colts, some of it is, are you really turning into a pumpkin when you're playing other good teams? Like Houston has really emerged lately. They've played good football down the stretch. So it's great defense. And then they lost to Kansas City. The biggest issue there is that they had a chance to put that game away and they didn't do it.
4 3 and outs to finish the game.
That's kind of the issue that I would sort of have with the Colts. I don't know that I think that they're a pumpkin necessarily. They're just hitting up against other good teams and they're not having the same success that they had earlier, but it's not like they're getting smashed. It's not like they're undeserving to be there. So, the AFC North is kind of a sideshow at this point in time.
Dude, it sucks. That whole division stinks now.
But then you have the other side where you have the AFC South. We have 3 teams that conceivably could win the division. And then you have the AFC West where you have 2 teams expecting to be in the playoffs for sure. One that's fighting for its life that you basically just put to the sword with your Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day.
You're welcome, America.
It's quite dramatic. And then you kind of have the Bills who are hanging out, playing okay to good football.
They are, man. They're under the radar right now, Schaef. Right.
You never know quite what they're doing, but they're not locked in for a playoff spot because there's so many teams. Like they can't slip up this week against the Bengals, who need this win in order to.
I was going to say,
continue
Cincinnati
their
suddenly is getting back. If they win the game, suddenly they're back in the mix, and you have to worry about them in the AFC North. Meanwhile, if the Bengals lose this weekend, then they are. I think we can put a fork in them and say that they are done, and then it's just going to come down to Baltimore and Pittsburgh, which they begin their 2-game swing. They're going to play twice in the next 3 weeks. We're going to have a lot of those over the next few weeks. Packers, Bears, Ravens, and Steelers. Not that it's going to matter for really playoff, but Eagles are playing the Commanders a couple times as we get to the end of the season. So we have a lot of these games where you're going to have like elimination matchups between these 2 teams. Dude, you say that about the Bills, and maybe this is just because I want them to be the best team in the AFC. But golly, they are just kind of under the radar right now. Yeah. They ran the ball extremely well. Now, the Steelers have been a fraud all year, so I'm not going to pretend like I was buying into Pittsburgh because I have not been, and there are many podcasts of you and I talking where I say as much. But I was impressed with the way in which they played. They had a horrible first half. They were down at the half, and you're just wondering, is this going to be another one of those stupid Steelers wins where they are on their way towards another 9-8 year, and I'm going to get mad? And the answer was unequivocally no, because the Steelers decided to run the ball down their throats in the second half, and Aaron Rodgers made a new Bills. What did I say? Patriots? What did I say?
You said Steelers.
Steelers. Good Lord. I'm all over the place. And then Aaron Rodgers gives us a new meme. So shout out to Buffalo. Huge game between them and the Bengals on Sunday, which, like before the year, you could have called that. Not so much as we've arrived there, but it's a big game. And, I don't know. I'm not going to believe in Cincinnati. They lost too many games early on in the year to matter so much in terms of them getting into the playoffs, but perhaps they can play a bit of a spoiler to teams, and they have another matchup with the Ravens coming up. So, like all that stuff they can ruin some seasons, I guess is what I would say here late in the year.
Yeah. And then let's spend a few seconds on those Ravens. What a disgusting, horrible performance on Thursday night. Just turnover after turnover. They were at home too. Like that was at home on a holiday game We're coming off of 2 absolutely terrific games with the Cowboys and the Chiefs and the Lions
Shout
and the
out, Gals.
Packers. And then we're given that horrendous game to finish Thursday night. And one of us in this podcast definitely could have used Baltimore to not only win but cover. And they did neither. They turned the ball over 5 times. And then one of us in this podcast had their fantasy team tied to this matchup.
Oh,
and
no.
Lamar scoring 6 points and Zay Flowers of negative 1.7. Just horrible. Just a whatever the opposite of a Thanksgiving miracle was. Thanksgiving stink bomb. That's what I was given by the Ravens. That was bad.
The Ravens were a fried frozen turkey.
That is the most likely playoff team out of that. And I don't know what to do with them because I keep waiting for them to kind of figure out who they are. And it just may not be in there. Like they might be just kind of.
You know what they are, Schaef? They're going to be this year's AFC South team that goes into the playoffs, and we're like, nope, they're not going to do anything, but they're in the playoffs. They are the Shakey's game.
Is Lamar going to be in the Shakey's game?
He might be.
Wow.
He might be. And for those who don't know, the Shakey's game is a Bill Simmons-ism, if you will, going back years where they watched the first game of the NFL playoffs that Saturday at a pizza joint in Los Angeles called Shakey's. And it is often the crappiest game of the whole weekend, and it is usually an AFC South special. The Texans have played like every game in the history of their franchise at that 3:30 Saturday slot. Even when they make the divisional round, they play there. I don't know, man. It might be the Ravens
even when
this
Jack
year
Mitchell says it's the greatest, bestest version of the Texans ever.
I love how you bring that up every time they come up. Oh, man. So, yeah.
Comments imaginable, but
they stink. The Ravens stink. It's very sad. This is a lost year for them. They're probably going to make the playoffs because they're in the same division as the Steelers, and the Bengals have put themselves in too big of a hole. It is sad to watch, though, and I just hope that Lamar Jackson is able to get healthier and that next year is much more enjoyable. Here's a comment from Matt Schaef. Well, first of all, Krev says, I tuned in live to make sure the Patriots get some respect from you two. We have put respect on their name, Krev. You have heard it here from us. Matt says, who do you believe in more, the Broncos or the Bears? They're kind of two sides to the same coin. Now, Schaefer is not an unbiased observer here. When you get
it's going to be tough to be unbiased here.
Yeah, look, I will say this as the unbiased observer because I have zero negative thoughts so much on the Bears other than they've kind of ruined Sundays over the years, and I don't really care much about the Broncos either, so neither of these teams offend me. I think I would trust the Broncos going into this year's playoffs more than the Bears for 2 reasons. One is the AFC is mid as hell this year, and I know the NFC has its issues, but I like more teams in the NFC at this moment in time than I like in the AFC, so I would start there. The other is defense in January, like, really can be a floor raiser. And I know that you just said what you did about the performance on Sunday night, and it was not very good on that side of the ball. But I would much rather go into the playoffs with a really kick-ass defense than, like, I just think the Bears are playing. They're certainly overplaying the number of points that they have scored and the level of play that they're getting from their quarterback, and certainly, Schaef, the level of play that they're getting from their defense this year. That said, like, I think it was Bishop yesterday brought up how big the horseshoe is in their ass. Like, the Bears very much are playing in that way. And I'm a huge Ben Johnson guy. And so I like that about them. But going into the playoffs, I would probably trust the Broncos a little bit more, again, because of the defense component that they are going to have. And I think that there's a much more likely chance that they are up in that 1-2 seed range, whereas the Bears still got a really tough schedule. They got the Packers twice. Who else do they have? They have the Lions again that they're going to have to play. And then I think the 49ers or something like that. So it's going to be a tough finish to the season for Chicago, and that might cause them to slip down just a little bit.
Yeah, off the cuff, I would say the Broncos just because they have a little bit better quality of win. I mean, both teams beat the Eagles. Both teams beat the Cowboys by double digits.
By 11 points.
The Broncos have wins over the Chiefs and the Texans to go along with that. I mean, the Bears have done a nice job navigating the 4th-place schedule. It's very similar to the Patriots, where you have your second-year quarterback. You find ways to win games. I think the Patriots have been more dominant what they've done.
They have.
Whereas the Bears have a handful of just like,
how do they win
that game? No
business
winning that game, but they won, and you give them credit for it, and you move on. I mean, no part of me, if I was an NFC team, would be concerned about taking on Chicago and Soldier Field. You know, my concern wouldn't be about the Bears. It'd be about the shitty footing in that awful stadium in January.
Yeah.
You know, so other than that, and I don't think they're going to end up hosting. It feels like the Packers have kind of figured some things out. I would look for them to pass the Bears to win the NFC North. But, if they don't and the Bears do end up hosting and you're, let's say the Bears are the 2 or the 3, I would guess it'd be the 2. It'd be kind of hard to be the 3.
Well, now that they have the tiebreaker over Philadelphia.
Right. I don't know what to make of Philly down the stretch either. So, I just couldn't imagine if you're the 7, I guess, or if you're the 6, look, that's not the worst matchup to get. Like if you're the 49ers, you're going to play the Bears anyways, or the Seahawks. Like I think Seattle against Chicago is a massive mismatch. I think everything Seattle does well, Chicago does not do particularly well. And I think Caleb Williams has been living on the float for a little bit, there with the Bears. But here's the thing. They figure out ways to win games. They're creative enough offensively. Their special teams have come up big for them. And they do the thing on defense that matters the most in the NFL. They take the ball away. They don't have a particularly good defense, but they take the ball away. And so they give themselves extra possessions. Ben Johnson's been creative. They've been solid. They feel like the sort of team that goes into the playoffs, doesn't win a game, and then we'll see what they are next year. Like, I don't know that I think that I think they've got a lot of pieces for set up for long-term success, but I don't look for a deep playoff run out of Chicago. Whereas I think the Broncos with that defense, sort of with Bo Nix just kind of doing it every week, I kind of buy it. And maybe I'm just biting too hard on what I feel like has been one of the better teams in the NFL. It's funny. I just think the AFC is better than the NFC.
See, that's wild. Yeah, I could not disagree with you more. Yeah, I think I look at the NFC and I see, like at the top of the conference and having to deal with the Rams, having to deal with the Packers, having to deal with the Seahawks, having to even deal with the 49ers and their, the way that they're able to just, kind of match you physically at the very least every single week. I think it's really, really tough on that side. Whereas like, it's like a bunch of unproven, groups on both sides, but like, if Jacksonville's in the playoffs, like Houston is, as much as they're winning lately, they still have a whole lot of flaws as a football team. The Chargers are insanely banged up right now. I know that they're coming off the win that we talked about, but Buffalo's run defense has been a freaking sieve all year. The Chiefs aren't going to be in the playoffs. The Ravens are an inherent, like whoever comes out of the AFC North is going to be super, super flawed. And so like, that's going to be a massive, not win. It's not going to be a guaranteed win, but man, if I'm the 5 seed in the AFC, like I'm going to feel good about that matchup, just given who the team is going to be. And who knows, maybe the 4 seed is going to be one of the AFC South teams as well. So, and then you have, second year quarterbacks at the top of the conference in both Bo Nix and Drake May. And so, that's why I think I texted this to you during the game on Sunday night. If I am Buffalo, like this is the year. They have to get it done. And I know I just said that they have their own flaws, but good Lord, like they are not dealing with the Ravens at the peak of their powers. They're certainly not dealing with the Chiefs at the peak of their powers if they even make it to the playoffs. It's a bunch of early, essentially rookie quarterbacks. And then the AFC South mess. It's like, man, if you're Buffalo, this has got to be the year. And they're not going to have home field. Like that's going to be the craziest part about this whole situation. And so they're going to have to travel probably 3 straight weeks. If they could get up to the 5 seed, maybe an upset or 2 happens along the way and they get 1 home game. But, I mean, they're not going to be able to count on that. And so they're not even going to have a chance to play at Ralph Wilson, which is nuts. So who knows, Schaef? Maybe it ends up being to their benefit. I always think about teams that play in cold weather and then they get an opportunity for like a dome game in the playoffs and how valuable that can be for them. Maybe they get a dome game, versus like a Houston or an Indianapolis or a warmish weather against a Jacksonville, and they don't have to deal with going up north. So I don't know. I look at the AFC as just a very flawed. The whole NFL though is super flawed right now.
Yeah, I mean that was basically what I was going to say. Like beyond just the Bills, shouldn't everybody be looking at this? Like there's no favorite. The team that we were ready to just be like, okay, it's clearly the Rams. They went and lost to Carolina, and I know that it's hard to go into Carolina and win a football game, despite I think them having a negative point differential at home this year.
It's hard. It's very hard.
And that includes kicking your Cowboys' ass.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a. I just think it's a relatively wide open year. Like you mentioned, the 49ers, like they went to Houston and lost that game, and it wasn't really close. Like
they got their asses kicked.
And I don't think it's weird like my thoughts on Brock Purdy are pretty well known. He's come back and sucked ass, but they might be better with Mac Jones. Like genuinely might be better with Mac Jones. You know, like they wallowed through an awful game against Cleveland. They're it in some ways like the 49ers and the Bears have body swapped a little bit. Where like the 49ers just play in this sort of putrid kind of games week in and week out. And the Bears are playing in these weird, exciting games with the fun offense and, you know, can swap in all these different pieces and or just getting it done defensively with guys that are making big plays and kind of all of the stuff that for the early 49ers you were getting, except you have Caleb Williams instead of Jimmy Garoppolo. So there's a lot more like pizzazz, I guess, on offense.
Pure wedding, more pure wedding.
Yeah, that game in a couple weeks is going to be really fascinating because I don't know which of those teams I believe in less because I don't believe in either of them.
I was going to say, God, I almost want to watch both of those games with you and see what your reactions to it throughout. I'm excited to watch the Bears in these games over the next few weeks. Like they have some massive matchups, and starting with the one on Sunday afternoon against the Packers. All right, we're 20-something minutes in. Let me ask you about the Dallas Cowboys. They win 2 games in a row. Well, they won 3 games in a row, but they win back-to-back games over the Super Bowl participants. An all-time comeback against the Eagles. We talked about that a little bit last week. And then we talked about the Kansas City game on Thanksgiving. Another terrible start. Dak gets hit on the first drive, throws an interception. Chiefs are up 7-0. But I hadn't even watched the game yet because I went from Thanksgiving home to let Banks out. And then I went over to my parents to watch the game with my dad. By the time I get there, it's already 7-0. And I'm like, are you serious? This is just an absolute travesty. And then yet again, Dak has, you know, the guy is playing insanely high-level football right now with like a mistake or two a game. Thankfully, against them and thankfully against the Eagles, like really only one mistake that cost them. He had a couple other turnover-worthy plays throughout, but they get the victory. They have now essentially an elimination game in the NFC on Thursday night against the Lions. They win. They're alive. The Lions would be, I think, pretty much knocked out. I guess there's still a possibility if Detroit won that Dallas is – they're in the mix for the division, but you have to have an Eagles collapse here at the end of the year. How should I feel, in your opinion, about the Cowboys? Because, I mean, I think that they could certainly continue winning a lot of games. Man, I'd be lying, though, if I don't say I'm kicking myself or the team should be kicking themselves. The 2 losses, the Carolina one, again, it's hard to go into Carolina and win. And then that Arizona game are just the 2 that I'm like, oh, my gosh, if one of those flips, it is a much different world right now. That said, Schaef, with the offense playing this way, like, they're not going to be out of any game, and the defense has done what I wanted. Just be average. The defense is now average. And so, I don't know. They got Lions, they got Vikings, they got Chargers, and then they have Commanders and Giants. So, like, they have gotten through the really tough part of the schedule. Like, you win on Thursday, and I'm going to start – I mean, I'm already doing playoff math, but I'm really going to start doing playoff math if they're able to beat the Detroit Lions on Thursday night. Yeah,
I mean, they basically have to get – 4 wins out of that stretch, right? And then they have to hope for some things to go their way. Yes. You'd be 10-6-1 if they go 4-1 down that stretch. You know, the tough thing is it starts right away with that game against the Lions. It's not like there's a reprieve or you know, you're just jumping right into it. And you get this team in Detroit that I don't know what to do with them because I don't think they're very good and they're not bad. So they're the kind of team that wouldn't surprise me if they put up 50 points on you, you know, because this is kind of what they do to teams. Maybe not your reinvigorated new Dallas defense, but your
Quinnen Williams, they're not throwing for 50 points and getting 50 points on Quinnen Williams. They'll break Jared Goff in half.
He might. I don't know that that's what we need to see happen in national football. That wouldn't be great. It would lead to a lot of conversations about what are we doing here. They have a quarterback legitimately snaps in half on the field. I think. Do you think they'd pause that game and then just like cancel it? Would it be a DeMar Hamlin situation if Jared Goff?
Very much so. They might just ban the sport. They might cancel the sport of football. It might be over.
Wow. That's probably so we don't want that. Sorry. Sorry, Quinnen Williams. I'm not trying to take stats away from you.
Just sack him like 3 times then. Let's just go with that.
Just put him down gently. Just
thank you.
You know.
Yeah, no flags, please. No flags.
Yep. So Yeah, that's going to be a really tough game. And then that Chargers game is going to be tough, and they're tough for different reasons. The Chargers, I think
Yes.
the style of which they play is going to be difficult. And I think the Chargers are really good against the pass, or have been this year, something like that. Like, I don't think teams have been able to throw on them very easily. I can't remember what the exact stat is on it, but so that'll be a challenge. But yeah, then you have the other 3 games where who knows which shitty quarterback from the Vikings you're going to get, and then you have the Commanders and the
Rosemer,
Giants.
please. Rosemer, please.
Yeah, none of those teams are likely to be, the Vikings will try to win games. I don't know if the Giants and Commanders will. They're well versed in the tanking, so they may not. But I don't know that Tommy DeVito is going to come out and start. Do you think Jackson Dart is going to make it through the entire season, or are we going to lose?
Dude, I thought he was going to get knocked out of last night's game. No
I
way.
don't like. If you're the Giants,
they need to sit
this off season. Do you think about trading him? Because there's just no way this car crash style is going to end well. But he's interesting enough that a quarterback desperate team might just be like, hey, let's go do this thing.
Yeah. He's good. He's certainly good. He plays with way too much reckless abandon.
Better. Way better than I thought he was going to be.
Same.
I was
He's fun.
completely and utterly wrong on Jackson Dart. But the thing is, it may not matter because he may not have a career to speak of if he keeps running into traffic. And so
in a way, he's immature in how he plays. He needs to very much protect himself a whole lot more. And he's acting like a moron doing this because he's already had, 1 concussion for sure? Yeah. Maybe 2. Is it 2 concussions? Bro, you need to chill out and you need to act like an adult. There is way too much money tied up into you, and you need to start treating your body appropriately. And he is not doing that so far. And so who knows? Maybe the Cowboys are playing Jameis Winston, on week 18, which. He throws the ball up, but he also is able to execute at a very high level. I think the season for the Cowboys, it definitely is going to come down to what happens on Thursday. They win this game, and I mean, I really do think that it is very much possible. The offense is just playing at such a high level. Brett writes in, he says, the Lamb Pickens 1-2 wide receiver combo is probably the best in the NFL right now. Cowboys could actually be a threat. The best part about this entire situation is they have, I don't know if it's the best offense in the NFL, but certainly a top 3, top 5. I wouldn't go much lower than top 5. I think
I would definitely say top 5. And then after that, you're kind of parsing through what you like the most out of it. But I mean, I think top 3 is fair too.
Yeah, I love the way that
it's a year where not a lot of teams are playing great offense either. So
yeah, they're doing a wonderful job. And I mean, with those 2 receivers, the Pickens hurdle has been getting all the love, but my favorite part of that play is actually the little stutter step he does that allows him to pick up all the extra yardage early on. I mean, I've watched good receivers in Dallas over the years, Schaef. CeeDee Lamb is really good. Des Bryant was really good. This guy is easily the most athletic freak that I've ever seen on the roster. He is nuts. He is at wide receiver. I think Micah Parsons is probably my number 1 just in terms of what the hell, how is that guy able to do that stuff? But George Pickens, in terms of a wide receiver, is number 1 for me. He just is so effortless. You remember Xavier Betts and how he looked like he was running slow because he was so smooth, and then he would score a touchdown against Penn State. And then everyone was like, oh my gosh, this guy could be the best receiver ever. And of course, he never really was. George Pickens, he's that, but better. Where I watch him and it's he just doesn't look fast, and yet he's outrunning everybody because of how smooth he is. And his body control and what he's able to do is it's something else. And we got him in a contract here, which is super fun. I don't care about 2026 as long as his team gets in the playoffs in 2025. Make it to the playoffs, and anything could happen. Anything could happen. Or they could lose on Thursday and my life is ruined. So, got that going for me too.
It's great to have you back, excited about the NFL in a year in which you tried to quit before the season. You tried to quit after days before the season. You tried to quit after the Cardinals game. You talked about how terrible this coaching staff was when it was assembled. And yet here you talked about you doubted Jerry Jones all along.
Okay.
And who might be the crafty sly fox at the end of this thing if the Cowboys get into the playoffs and play the Bears? A 2-7 matchup, Cowboys Bears. Oh wow! Look at
and then on the road. Hey, and then on the road in Los Angeles with 40,000 Cowboys fans at the Rams game. Oh, Schaef, now we're speaking my language.
And then it
Now
finishes with a trip back to Philly to exercise all your demons in an NFC championship game. You and your wife have to be separated. You can't even be in the same county. She sends you out to Western Nebraska. She claims Douglas. You've got to get out of there. You got to go somewhere. I don't know where you are. You're in Waverly watching this game.
What's the? I mean, I can't imagine that Sunday night after that game. I cannot imagine the one of us would be in the most down we have ever been, and the other would be euphoric. That sounds terrible. Are the Eagles going to make it to the NFC Championship game, though, Schaef? Because the Eagles famously
are the Cowboys going to make it to the NFC Championship game? I mean,
probably not. But a man can dream. A man can dream. The Eagles have fallen apart yet again. This every other year Super Bowl and then tire fire is quite the experience. They're like an NFL version of Auburn back in the day, where it's like they're really great and then everybody hates each other. I got a theory for you, and this is not a new thought, but I read a lot about the Eagles. Is Jalen Hurts actually the problem? It's not even A.J. Brown. It's not even Nick Sirianni. It's not Howie Roseman. Is Jalen Hurts the biggest issue, not only on the field, but internally with the Philadelphia Eagles? Because, God, I kind of think that everyone there hates his guts.
It's hard because you could really say that there's no way this version of the Eagles would be as good if they didn't have Jalen Hurts, because they're so built to play with him at quarterback, with the tush push style, with his ability to run, with all the rushing touchdowns, with the secret fact that Saquon Barkley's talent was stolen by the Monstars or something this year. I mean, like, it's hard because I think he is both the catalyst and also the drawback of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I don't understand how he can be each of those at the same time. And yet here we are, and here he is, and he has to be infuriating. You made some comment about the Vikings trading for him, and that just horrifies me. Not because I don't think he'd be a massive quarterback upgrade, but he doesn't fit like Kevin O'Connell at all. And I think Kevin O'Connell very much needs a certain type of quarterback. I think that's become clear this season. And it was kind of noticeable when he couldn't utilize Josh Dobbs with anything that Dobbs did well and kept trying to get him to do the things he couldn't do well. Jalen Hurts would be a worse version of that, in some ways, because so much of his game is predicated on the way the Eagles have tailored their offense around him. So would the Vikings or some other team be willing to do that? I don't know. And so I don't even know that he's like, and then here's the thing. Is he tradable if you're Philadelphia? Like,
contracts,
you look around the league and it's like, oh, we don't want to have this guy on our team anymore. But then you go look at all these other awful quarterback situations, and it's like that's the problem with having the quarterback that's somewhat above league average, but not one of the upper echelon. It's like, well, we got to pay him, but we can't really get rid of them because look over here, look how terrible they are over there.
Yeah.
And that's, like, it's why there's a reason there's comfort in having a Kirk Cousins or a Dak Prescott or, I think Justin Herbert is going to fall in this category more than he's going to be in the upper echelon. Like, that's kind of how I feel about it. You might disagree with that. But there is comfort for having those types of guys that you can just kind of rely on to play. And Hurts, I guess, gets hurt a little bit more, but then how do you pull that offense together? If you have a traditional quarterback in that spot, how does that offense even look? Like, if you put Matt Stafford with the Eagles, are they that much better, or is it kind of a mess?
Well, I mean, they got the receivers. Like, I think a lot of and if my wife is watching right now, and I don't think she is because she's a little down bad on the NFL right now, I'm guessing that she would say that a lot of the issue is not just Hurts, but it's the offensive coordinator, and it's the play designs, and it's the routes that are being run. Like, the offense should not be this bad given how good the players are. And I'm with you. Like, Saquon is not what he was last year. And I think that this was very predictable, right? The rule of 370. He had a lot of touches last year.
Their offensive line isn't that good. Like, that's
bingo. The offensive line has taken a huge step back. Huge step back. But I still think I think A.J. Brown, certainly Devontae Smith are awesome. Dallas Goedert is still in an above average tight end. They should not feel this stale. And I think that the staleness is it has to be involved with the design of the offense. And I'm with you. The offensive line, it's taken a step back. I think Cam Jurgens isn't playing as well as he has over the last few years. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries too on the offensive line, but I also think that you can see it with Saquon. Like, the pop is not there in his legs. There was a play he had at the end of the Cowboys game where he tried to spin, and DeMarvion Overshown was able to tackle him, and it was like, wow, that was like, he just kind of spun wrong, and it was like, well, in the last year he probably would have hurdled over the guy, and instead he did not. So they're just not what they were last year. And now, I mean, you mentioned the record that the Cowboys have to get to 10-6-1 is that's like the bare minimum. Well, that would require then 3 losses by Philadelphia. Meanwhile, if the Cowboys were to win out, it would require 2 losses by the Eagles. And so they got the Chargers, they have the Bills. So like, I can find 2 losses. The hard part is finding a third, because they have the Commanders twice and the Raiders. Though, I mean, if they're falling apart like they did a couple of years ago, it means that they're going to lose some really stupid games over the next few weeks. So one can hope. How great would it be to have the Cowboys in the playoffs instead of the Eagles? It's a fun, messy drama and a fun offense. Go Cowboys.
I have no dog in that fight. Like, if the Eagles make the playoffs over the Cowboys, that's okay.
Don't you want me to be happy? You have a dog in the fight. My happiness.
I would like you to be happy. I want Riz to be happy. I say this with some love in here too, but if you're really the year after winning a Super Bowl down on the NFL because your team that's winning the division lost a game on a Friday, their 4th loss of the season, something like that.
4th. Second straight 4th loss, yeah.
I would ask if you're being unnecessarily dramatic about how your NFL experience is going relative to some of us whose fucking quarterback was Max Brosmer on Sunday. I don't know if you saw that pass, Riss, but I don't know if I want to watch football anymore with that shit on my television every fucking Sunday. So yeah, you be sad about the Eagles. And I'm going to be over here watching the clown show that is the Minnesota Vikings offense, which statistically had their worst game in the history of their entire fucking team offensively on Sunday while they played Seattle. So, but no, I'll be there watching when they play the Commanders on Sunday, because J.J. McCarthy strapped back in at quarterback. It's at home. It's an opportunity against a bad team for him to show the people why he was the 5th overall quarterback selected from a 6th-round projected draft pick by me to 10th overall by Kwesi. What a leap. What a leap. We talk about that meme being an astronaut? No, J.J. McCarthy's a real astronaut.
You know that meme where it's like, miss me yet? People always do it with politicians, but I saw that on Sunday it was a picture of J.J. McCarthy. You miss me yet, Vikings fans? And I laughed so hard.
Missing that.
It was a joke. It was a joke. The person was making a joke. But good Lord, Schaef, that interception by Brosmer was an all-timer. Yeah,
I obviously consume Viking stuff, and what's funny to me right now is the people who were telling us all offseason how great J.J. McCarthy was going to be, and like how great he looked in training camp, and that this offense and this team that Kwesi put together was going to be able to compete and all of this. They're now like really, really angry and felt like they were sold a bill of goods because they're discovering things like, do you realize that Max Brosmer threw like 1,000 more times in his college career than J.J. McCarthy? It's like they just now discovered that he didn't really have to pass at Michigan. And it's like, well, why are his mechanics not very good? I don't know. Probably because he was never taught how to really have to play quarterback while he only handed the ball off 75 times. Well, they beat UTEP 704-12. Like, it's just amazing to me that the NFL is covered so meticulously, and there's all of these different people that watch it and all of this, and no one that was at a high level was basically like, yeah, the guy won the national championship as like the 7th best player on his team. No one was just like, oh, this quarterback probably shouldn't be going 10th overall in a draft class where 4 other people went in front of him. And 3 of those 4 are going to be in the playoffs in year 2 already with their teams.
Yeah, and
the 4 had a chance to go to the playoffs at the end of last year in a kind of a classic game. I don't remember who they were playing down the stretch, but they needed to get the win. Might have been against.
I think wasn't it Washington when Atlanta played? It was
Jaden Daniels.
And so then Daniels got in it, instead of Penix,
And then Daniels ended up making the run to the NFC Championship game. So, it's just the Vikings are a mess. There's too much talk about like they should go get Aaron Rodgers next year. It's like, are you not watching what Aaron Rodgers is doing right now? Like that is not the answer either. Then you have the people that are like, oh, they just have to tank. They'll just tank their way into getting better. And it's like, this doesn't work.
Trade for Jalen Hurts, Schaef. The answer is Jalen Hurts, Minnesota Vikings quarterback.
Talent. And then who's drafting it? Because their drafts have been awful. Part of the reason their team is bad is they don't have any successful draft picks. For, like Dallas Turner is finally starting to play better at the same time that Jordan Addison no longer has hands. So your first round picks continue to be somewhat of an issue.
It is wild when you go from a team that drafts well to missing a couple of drafts in a row, and it comes home to roost, X amount of years later. It's like, whoa. Because in the moment, you don't realize it, right?
The Vikings were previously built by being a really good team draft-wise, but then spent all of their money to retain their players instead of getting outside talent through free agency. So that was kind of the knock on them, other than Kirk Cousins. And now they're a team that doesn't draft well, that last year had every bargain bin buy was terrific. And then this year, anyone they spent money on, like Will Fries, they made one of the top paid guards in the league. He's like their 5th best offensive lineman, and they don't have a good offensive line. And he got absolutely demolished by the Seahawks on Sunday. So they're a complete and utter mess. And it looks like it's going to be like a couple-year project. And then you turn around and you see a stat like last night, the most rookie snaps in the NFL, the New England Patriots. So you can go have like a fantastic draft and flip this thing with a 4th-place schedule. My issue is I don't want any of the brain trusts that have been drafting the last 4 years to be involved in this next upcoming draft. Like, I want to clean that house out. And they can take JJ McCarthy and his eye black and everything else, his 9, his alternate ego. Like, you shouldn't have an alternate ego if you can't win football games. And if you're wearing eye black inside, it's probably time to grow up and stop being a fucking child. Learn how the offense is run.
You can't have an alternate ego. Oh, that's the National Fun League. What a sport, a great sport that one of us likes and the other tolerates as we
I love
arrive in.
It's
a great
unlike
sport.
You, when my team is a car crash of great calamity, I am still deep inside this sport, loving every aspect of it. I'm not over here sending these whiny ass texts about how the team in my division is the greatest team of all time. You are just like wildly swinging this year, whether it's been the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Ravens in week 1. I mean, it's just like whoever you crown, the crown falls off during the game, and then they end up losing the crown, and the crown's broken. They have to build a new crown. I don't know what's going on here. But
it's
the Rams. You recently crowned the Rams, and they got beat by the Panthers. Is Josh Peterson the curse? That's what I wonder.
What a great question. So here's people are wondering, what did Josh send Mike Schaefer? It was 4:16 p.m. on Sunday, November 23rd. So we're talking about, what is this, Schaef? 9 days ago? This is 9 days ago. I cannot believe you get to root for a failure whose biggest rival also shits the bed in the playoffs. Meanwhile, I have to deal with the Eagles. and then I said,
I 21-point lead and then gave up 700 yards rushing to the Bears.
By the way, 22 minutes later, I also said I have never been lower as a fan of this team. And then I know you don't like me reading your text on the air, but a little bit later at night, as the Cowboys won, you said, "Look at this wiener." Yeah, my vibes have very much changed over the course of 9 days. Yeah. Wow,
that's
what a time to be alive.
There was a moment where the Vikings were 4-4, and I was like, well, if they beat the Ravens here, and then they get the Bears, and then the Packers. The Packers have looked like ass. They could probably win that game, one of the two, whether it's at home or against Lambeau. Like, they can kind of make it something out of this year, they can salvage this thing. Oh, unsalvageable now. They have just completely shit the bed, rolled around in it, and are running around the living room. So,
meanwhile, if the Cowboys are able to pull it off in 2 days, I will go from sending the whiniest, crybabiest text of all time to, oh my gosh, they're making the freaking playoffs. Nobody can stop us. Let's freaking go. So that's what's at stake for me on Thursday night. Wow, what a great
sport. Amazing how many teams like recently that have been so fired up about their football team are so down right now. Like the Lions are down, the Eagles fans are down, the Chiefs fans are down, the Ravens fans are down. Like earlier this year, Packers fans were upset. Now they're riding the high again. Now Matt LaFleur isn't going to get fired, even though a couple of weeks ago they're basically going to shove him out the door. So it is a wild league. It has been a fantastic year, just a ton of fun, lots of up and down. Matt McMaster, if you're listening to this, you had a radio segment where you were really concerned that there was no great team. And you didn't know if you could enjoy this season if there wasn't like a great Chiefs team that had to be hurdled for it. I don't understand it. I think this year has been phenomenal. Watching on Sunday, I was at an Omaha establishment, and so all the games were on, and I would like turn every so often and look at the Rams-Panthers game and just total bewilderment about what I was watching. And I understand east to west or west to east and all of that stuff, and it's a hard league, but it is just a reminder in the NFL that like the best team, the margins for them being the best team are not so big that they can play like the 20th team, play like ass and still come out with a win. Sometimes that happens, and sometimes you end up losing to the Panthers on the road.
That's true, and it came at least with the awesome Puka Nacua catch, which is one of the best catches of the entire season. So they even got a highlight out of it as their team went down.
What do you think that was the best catch of the week?
Of the week? Yeah. Is there one that you would pick above that?
Did you see Trayvon Burks against the Broncos, the one-handed in the corner of the end zone?
That was awesome. I thought Puka's was better, though.
Okay.
Because like the defender got the hand on it and he still pulled it away with one arm. He didn't put two hands on it until it was like totally in his chest.
It was Jefferson-esque, except he stayed on his feet.
Yes.
The Jefferson one against the Bills. And then the Brock Bowers catch was phenomenal that he had, where he's like on the ground. The announcer calls it incomplete and then realizes
I don't know if I saw this one.
Actually a touchdown. So his second touchdown it looks like Geno Smith is spiking the ball into the ground near him, and he scoops it with one hand in the end zone for a touchdown. Like it's incredible. And then the Saints, the receiver they got from the Broncos in a trade earlier this year, he had a terrific one-handed snow cone catch while running a drag route to score a touchdown that brought him within 2, and they had to go for the 2-point conversion to try to tie against the Dolphins in a game that I'm sure you did not watch at all. And
it was it got close at the end, and a bunch of the other games were over, so I did have the game on at the very end. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a great catch. There's a great reminder that there are some dudes in this league. There's like your really, really good wide receivers. There's Justin Jefferson, who had 2 catches for 4 yards and is wasting his career right now. And then there's guys that like are, Treylon Burks was a first round pick. Like that's who the Titans went out and got when they traded AJ Brown to the Eagles. And he just hasn't had the career that you would expect, but that was a hell of a touchdown catch.
By the way, I just watched that Brock Bowers play. Holy God, that was insane.
Yeah. You have 3 just phenomenal catches, 2 of them for touchdowns, and one of them Nacua sets up, I think, a touchdown. Just a unbelievable reminder of what we're watching.
Indeed. 5 weeks to go in the regular season. We will be here throughout all of it. We appreciate everybody joining us, whether you are watching live this morning, like our pal Brett, who says LMAO, yes, the rant. That was about 10 minutes ago, as Schaefer gave us the goods on the Minnesota Vikings and Max Brosmer and an all-time interception. If we saw some all-time catches, we saw one of the dumbest all-time interceptions that a player with that many career passes in college football should absolutely not.
How proud do you think Will Levis was that he wasn't involved in that play? All I could think of is I didn't want Will Levis. They passed on Will Levis, and they still ended up playing somebody that played like Will Levis.
With a Mitter version of Will Levis, which is somehow impossible.
Mitter.
That's what
Mitter.
Brosmer. Mitter. Yeah.
I
hope
Mitter
that the Cowboys can play him. Come on, let's go. Let's. Thank God we're not going to that game anymore, huh? Remember when we were talking in the offseason about going to
is that going to
Cowboys
get flexed out?
Dude, okay. I know we got to go. I was looking at the schedule for that weekend. That is week 15. So, right, that's 2 weeks away. I'm going to, Schaef, you ready for this? This week is nuts. Okay. So, noon games. These are just the noon games. Ravens, Bengals. Let's see what happens with Cincinnati this weekend. Chargers, Chiefs. Let's see what happens with those teams this weekend. Bills, Patriots. Bills, Patriots, also in the noon window. So those are the bangers in the noon window. This is one of the doubleheader weekends for both networks. So both networks get 325 games. Packers at Broncos, Lions at Rams, Colts at Seahawks. And yet the primetime games this weekend are Falcons, Bucks, Cowboys, Vikings, and Dolphins, Steelers. Like, we got to fix this. We have to make this
Dolphins,
better for
Steelers
America.
Needs to be taken out and
Get
thrown away.
the hell out of there. And
Yeah,
dude, put our game at noon. I'm serious.
Yeah,
God, that weekend is insane.
I would be fine leaving ours so that way I can just enjoy the slate without having to watch my team and I can watch everything else going on.
Fair.
So there's something about that being at 7:20. We could potentially get together to watch it.
Oh,
hello. I would die if the Cowboys beat the Lions.
No, Schaef. And then do not say these words.
Are at home and JJ McCarthy, eye black and all, in a night game under the eyes of God in that stadium.
No.
Just tears your heart out. It would be incredible theater.
It would not be. That sounds terrible.
Justin Jefferson has like 183 yards and 2 touchdowns. And it's a reminder that, you might have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, but Justin Jefferson's still the guy. Oh, I like this. This is setting up nicely. I am excited. Go Cowboys this week. And then let's see what happens. Vikings, Cowboys in the following
or maybe the Cowboys beat the Vikings by like 30. That's a better world that I want to live in.
Like we've seen that movie before. People don't want that movie.
3 years ago, that was a fun game. Pollard running down the sidelines all wide open. All right, so that's National Fun League. Week 15 going to be a banger. We got to flex some games to make it even better so we don't have all of the good games at noon and 3:25. But that is the National Fun League. If you like what you see here, we'd love a like and subscribe on the way out the door. We do this podcast every Tuesday. Time is usually at 7:45, but sometimes we go a little bit later depending on our schedule. So we appreciate everyone hanging out with us this morning. Certainly a rating and a review wherever you listen on podcasts. But if you want more from us, patreon.com/I80 Club. We got Volleyball State as the NCAA tournament approaches for volleyball. That's going to start later this week. They'll have a ton of coverage. They have a weekly newsletter as well for subscribers. Jeff Sheldon and Lincoln Arneal do. And then Jack Mitchell and myself, we go live on Wednesday nights, bonus pod each and every week. And with all of the news and rumors and everything happening with Nebraska football, those will be, I would hope to say, a must listen. Yeah, you don't have to care anymore. But yeah, things are indeed happening. John Butler got fired yesterday, Schaef.
That's one out of the 2 coordinators that probably needs to go. We'll see what happens with the other.
Mike Schaefer out on Mike Eckler. Wow, incredible stuff. All right.
Eckler. That was the one.
For Mike Schaefer, I'm Josh Peterson. Thanks for joining us for this morning's National Fun League. We will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.